Well, after two slower, mysterious episodes, things really start to pick up and more mysteries are starting to be revealed in what is by far Stranger Things' best episode yet. Hey guys, camera for Stranger Things, Season 1, Episode 3, Holly Jolly, and I don't know why it's taken me so long to review this episode. If you guys know, I watched this episode like 3 weeks back. I don't know why it took me so long to review it till now, but finally I have reviewed it, and I don't know, why it took me so long, but anyways, guys, my main mission, this week, the main thing I want to do this week is finish Stranger Things. I want to finish it this week. That way I can get to the Get Down, because I know you guys want me to review the Get Down, and I'm not reviewing the Get Down until I finish Stranger Things. That's just how I'm going to do it. So I'll finish Stranger Things, then I'll get to the Get Down. But anyways, guys, I was definitely looking forward to this episode. You guys know I really have been loving this show overall. This, by far, was the best episode of the season. I really did love this episode. I thought there was some really great stuff here, and I have to say that I think they did a really good job in not making this seem somewhat familiar. There is some overtly familiar territory that the show has ventured into, but what I love about it is that it makes it seem somewhat original. I think that's something that Stranger Things is doing very well, but let's get into this episode because I absolutely loved it, and there's a lot to talk about. Starting off with the first scene. As we know, the episode ended with Nancy and Steve there having sex and everything, and meanwhile, Barb, she's in some sort of black, scary, dark world after she was snatched at the pool, and she's screaming for Nancy as the camera cuts to her in bed with Steve as she loses her virginity, and her best friend, meanwhile, is suffering a tragic outcome in typical campy fashion, and Barb is trying to escape from the world she's in. She crawls her way to safety when the monster drags her down below. She's screaming for Nancy, and I thought it was just a perfect way to start things out because one, it very much seemed what we saw with Will, where we saw, of course, it took a little bit of time for Will. The difference is with Barb is that we saw everything go down. We pretty much know what happened here, and so now we know that it's not just Will, it's going to be Barb as well, and it also kind of shows us, I think, that nobody is safe. I think it very much gives us that mentality. No one really is safe in the show. It can happen to anyone at the worst of times, and why it's happening to specifically these people, we don't know, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with that. I thought there was a very good way to start the episode out, and right away just got me right into the episode. I really did love the way that started out, but for the rest of the episode, Nancy's kind of going on with her day. It takes her a little bit to realize that Barb is missing. We'll get that in a second, basically because Nancy, she's going on with her day. Everyone's talking about how she lost her virginity to Steve and everything, and her and Steve, you can tell that they're definitely a bit closer. Steve still pretty much wants to bone her, you can definitely tell that, but we see that Nancy, she, like I said, doesn't really notice that Barb's gone. She starts to realize that Barb's gone when Barb isn't showing up for school. She's obviously kind of worried as to what's going on there. She doesn't know why Barb isn't showing up. But she ends up finding Barb's car in the same spot they left it the night before, and she tries looking for her outside the pool until she gets run off after some sort of creature darted across the screen. And we don't know what it was, but it didn't sound like the monster that we heard in the first two episodes. So we don't know what this creature is or what's going on there. That's really everything to say with Nancy in this episode, because a lot of it is her just kind of trying to figure out where Barb is. She calls her mom. Her mom doesn't know either. And we'll get more into Barb in a second. That's not the main stuff I really do want to talk about in this episode. Because the best stuff in this episode definitely involves the Joyce storyline. I thought the Joyce storyline really started to pick up in this episode. Not that it hasn't, because I think the Joyce stuff they've really been very good with. But especially in this episode, things already are really starting to pick up. We definitely do see. And I really did like that. So, Joyce kind of starts to think that Will's talking to her through the lights, as we saw. We kind of saw in the second episode, she thought that she heard Will, and she tries to convince Jonathan that that's true, but he scoffs at this idea. He thinks she's losing her mind and that she's crazy, and so does her boss when she shows up to her place of work, and she buys about 50 packs. I'm not even kidding you. 50 packs of Christmas lights to string up inside the house to communicate with Will. It's really crazy, but you can understand why. Joyce pretty much thinks that she can communicate with Will through lights, and I do think the one thing this episode does tell us is that Will definitely is not dead. I think that's something we definitely know by the end of this episode. I don't know where Will is, but he's definitely not dead, and I like that we did get there, because obviously they are starting to answer some questions, definitely. They're not really answering the most important of ones, but we are starting to get some more clues as to what might happen to Will. I'm going to say right now, I don't think that Will's dead. I just don't think that he is. I think there's definitely more going on there. We just don't really know what it is yet, so that's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. So Hopper is getting deeper into the investigation, and signs are very quickly pointing into the energy department, where Brenner is running Hawkins Labs, and he gets the runaround while there, but knows that they are lying after they didn't show him the security footage the day that Will vanished. So there's obviously a reason why that happened. We can also assume that that must have been the same day that 11 escaped, and we start to get more clues about what happened to 11 in this episode. We definitely start to see more about that, and I definitely really did like that. We also get, I think, the best scene with 11, and 11 by far is becoming my favorite character. I have to say that right now. I think 11 really is becoming my favorite character. I really have been loving what they're doing with her. They've taken a character that is so, like I said, overtly familiar, and they've made her fresh and genuine, and Millie Bobby Brown is just killing in this role. She's really doing a fantastic job. But speaking of 11, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin plan to meet 11 at 3:15 by the power lines after school. But before that, she explores the Wheeler home. And it's this incredible scene. And just little scenes like this I really love, where she's turning on the TV with her mind, and there are all these different things on, whether it's a Ronald Reagan speech, or a He-Man, or a Coke commercial. It triggers a flashback from her time under Brenner's control. It's a really good scene. I really did like the way that was done, and the way that this reminds her of things I thought was very interesting, because she's starting to learn to harness her mind control powers. We see Brenner watches from the other side of the glass. 11 is wearing a headset that they can measure her brain power, and she crushes a can of Coke, and he looks on with approval as 11's nose starts bleeding. And we don't know what exactly is going on here, which I thought was very interesting. You can clearly tell that Brenner obviously was scared of his, was scared of his daughter. Definitely, he was scared of his daughter. He didn't know really what was happening with his daughter, and still, we don't really know how these powers came to be. So to that sense, I do understand it, but you can also get the sense that Brenner clearly was not a real father to 11. You definitely get that. There's obviously a reason why she ran away, and we can already sort of tell. It's clear that she was under a lot of surveillance footage and a lot of stuff like that, and we cut back to the present, and 11 is in Nancy's bedroom, where she listens to a lullaby from a music box. She looks over her pictures with her boyfriend, and it was like she was looking. It was a very interesting scene, because it's kind of 11 looking into the life that she could have had. Like, if Brenner didn't do all this stuff to her, and Brenner was actually a real father, this could have been her life. She could have a boyfriend. She could, be just a regular daughter and be accepted and things like that, but she's not that way, and it's just a really good scene. It very well humanizes 11, and that's something we didn't really get in E.T. E.T., we always did kind of get the sense that E.T. wanted to be a real human, but we also did get the sense that E.T. came from somewhere else, and he had a planet, and remember, E.T. was an alien that somehow, got away from his planet. He didn't escape voluntarily. 11 escaped voluntarily. E.T., on the other hand, intentionally escaped by mistake, was left behind. We don't really know why, but 11 is a different story. So I really don't get the 11 E.T. comparisons I'm hearing. Yes, there are some very similar scenes, but we're very quickly seeing that 11 is not at all like E.T. 11 wants to be normal. 11 wants to be on the same level as all of the boys, and she wants to be, in that group and everything, but she's just not, because she's different, and she has these powers, and either she harnesses it and learns to accept it, or she tries to control it, and we don't really know what she's going to do, but I think we're very well seeing that she's definitely going to try to embrace it, not harness it. She's going to embrace it, and I think that definitely was very interesting, but just little scenes like that. That's why I'm really liking the show. Seeing things like that, seeing the life that 11 could have had. I think it was just a really well done scene. I really did love that. But Hopper and his sergeant are then researching Hawkins' lab when they find Brenner is named in a lawsuit where a woman allegedly he took her daughter for LSD mind control experiments, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that that woman most likely is 11's mother, and we don't know who 11's mother is. But I am assuming that 11's mother probably treated her somewhat normally, and Brenner probably needed her for some reason, so he took her away from that life, and Obviously, since then, her life has pretty much gone to shit, and I think we definitely do see that here. Now, why Brenner kidnapped 11 again is currently unknown, but there's obviously a reason why, and I think, like I said, I definitely do think that that woman most likely is his wife, and maybe his wife and got divorced, I don't really know. I'm sure we're going to find out more what's going on there. We don't know a lot about Brenner's character just yet, but we do know a lot about 11, because then we see another flashback where after she sees this cat waiting for Mike, Dustin, and Lucas to mirror the power lines, we see she sees this cat, and it makes her remember this flashback where Brenner has her using her powers on a cat to try and see if she'll kill it, and she stops, and obviously she can't do it. She's not just going to kill a cat randomly, which prompted her to be hauled away to an isolated cell like we saw her previously, and this time, when the door was closing on her, she used her powers to keep it open. She slammed one guard into the wall, left two dead, but it drained her and left her bleeding from her nose and ear, and it's obvious that she didn't mean to kill these people. I think we're kind of getting the sense that 11 doesn't really know the true extent of her powers, and she doesn't really know how she's doing all this stuff. She's kind of learned to embrace it, but Brenner was in awe of her power, carried her out of the room and back for more testing, and I think here it's kind of clear that Brenner clearly wants to use her, I think, as a weapon. I'm assuming that's what he wants. I'm assuming he wants to use 11 as a weapon, and that's what he really wants from her. I don't really know. We're not entirely certain, but again, just scenes like that really do show that 11 once was a normal kid, and she could have been a normal kid had she not had these powers, but she just wants to be a normal kid, just wants to fit in, and that's something I think we're seeing very well. I really am enjoying that. It's very hard to watch at points, honestly, just seeing what she's gone through, but I think it's really adding to the show. I'm really enjoying that, and definitely one of the highlights of this episode and of the show so far. And then right after that, the heart-wrenching stuff continues when we get this really great scene with Joyce, which Winona Ryder just killed it in this scene. I mean, she's given amazing performance this entire season, but I think this scene in general, for me, this is my favorite Joyce scene so far, because it just shows the desperation in her. And especially because everyone looks at Joyce as a woman in mourning, and because they feel that Will's dead, and that Will's not coming back, and that he's gone, and that she needs to accept that, and that she's just a woman in mourning. If anyone asks, why is she crazy? Why is she on the verge of a nervous breakdown? Oh, she's just a woman in mourning. But I think we're very quickly seeing that she's not a woman in mourning. She's just a desperate woman. She's a desperate woman. She is a fearless woman, and she really isn't afraid to look crazy. She isn't afraid to go to some crazy lengths, because she'll do whatever she can to get her son back. And now that she has these lights and she knows that Will's communicating through it, she wants to find a way to physically be able to communicate with him. So she comes up with this yes or no way, which I thought was very genius for him to communicate to her, which he says he is alive, but he's not safe, and she's obviously freaking out because she doesn't know what this means. She paints letters of the alphabet like a Ouija board on the living room wall, which is really cool, and Joyce asks where he is. He says, and all he says is right here, and we don't know what that means, but right before that happens, right after he says that, a monster comes out of the walls. We don't know what it is. It literally bursts through the walls, has like long, skinny arms and fingers. It's purple, has like an odd-shaped head. I mean, I don't know. It's very strange whatever's going on there. We don't know what this monster is, but again, I feel like wherever Will and Barb are being taken to, that's not the monster that's taking them there. I feel like the person that's taking them there most likely is a warning. It's trying to get them away from danger. That's kind of what I'm thinking at this point, because I think this pretty much confirms that Will's definitely not dead. I think we definitely do see that here. But meanwhile, so I thought that was a very well done scene. I definitely really did love that. And Winona Ryder, like I said, killed it in that scene, just acted the hell out of it, and she really is just incredible. But meanwhile, 11, Mike, and Dustin, and Lucas, they're searching for Will when she leads them to his house. And the boys are very confused. They don't really know what to do, obviously, because, they don't really know what this house is or where she's taking them, but they see police cars and this ambulance drive by, and they think that this is all about Will, and that's definitely what's going on. The viewers see Hopper's perspective, this boy's pulled from the water. We're led to believe it's Will, but it's obviously not Will. We get a very good look. It's definitely not him, because Joyce knows that Will's alive. Joyce then meets Jonathan as he was driving. Police lights flicker further down the road. Everyone pretty much thinks that Will's dead, and that is the way this episode ends, kind of making us think that Will's dead, but I think we pretty much know that Will's not dead, but that's how this episode ends overall. Let's get into this episode and talk about my predictions for the next episode. So, like I said, for me, this was my favorite episode of the season. It was by far the most heart-wrenching, and had some fantastic character moments, and I think really just showed a lot of what the show's trying to do, and it really showed how original this show really is. Because, like I said, while the show shares some resemblance to things like an E.T. or anything that Spielberg did, it's different, and I do like that, especially 11. I really do like where they're going with 11, because what is the true extent of her powers? I mean, she clearly, I think, understands it, but I don't think she really does. I don't think she intentionally meant to kill these guys. I mean, she's someone that she could stare at you and it could kill you. I mean, she's very dangerous, but the question is, why does Brenner really need her? What does he want to use her for? What's the real reason for that? Because there's obviously a reason why, and like I said, I am 100% sure that woman that he took 11 away from is 11's mother, and we don't know who 11's mother is yet, but I don't know, again, I kind of have this theory that it could, I always thought it was Hopper's daughter. I don't think it is, obviously not, though, we know that for a fact. 11 definitely is not Hopper's daughter, it's Brenner's daughter, but who is her mother? I think that's a big question as to what's going on there, because we know that obviously she is somewhat human, but she has these powers, and she's definitely not an alien. We definitely know that. She's not an alien, but something is off with her, and we just don't really know what it is. Let's talk about the monsters, because who are these monsters that are after Joyce? It's happened 2 times now, and you know, the second episode she was screaming, running out of her house, and now episode 3, this monster is bursting through the walls. Who are these monsters? How are they connected to Will's disappearance? We'll have to see what happens with that. Like I said, I think wherever Will and Barb are, they're not there to be killed. This monster's not there to kill them. This monster is there to protect them, and I think we're definitely very quickly seeing that. I don't really know what's going to happen with that, but that's going to be very interesting as well. Will definitely isn't dead. Who is the boy that that Hopper just pulled out of the water? Who is it? It's definitely not Will. I know Will's definitely not dead. Nancy, I'm looking forward to seeing Nancy look for Barb, because she knows obviously that Barb's missing. She doesn't really know how Barb's missing or what happened to her, but I think as this goes on, this is eventually all going to connect. We did have some good scenes between Jonathan and Nancy. Again, not a ton to talk about there, but we did have some stuff going on with them in this episode, and I definitely really did appreciate that. I thought that definitely was very well done. And then I guess the only other question is, like I said, what is Brenner's true intentions? You know, why does he really want to use her? I'm thinking he wants to use her as a weapon. That's what I'm thinking. I don't really know, though. But overall, guys, love this episode. I'm continuing to love this show. I think this show in general just really is, you know, impressing me. I think it's just really interesting what's going on and everything. I think everything here is just... Also, where is Barb? Is she coming back? Are we going to see her again? We don't really know. I really did like her character. I've heard a lot of people say she's the best character on the show. I really wouldn't say that. Guys, she had about like 15 minutes of screen time, so I can't really say she's the best character. But what I liked about Barb is that she kind of is everything that we kind of are in high school. You know, she's the awkward one. She's the one that doesn't have as many friends, but she hangs around popular people, which I think is definitely interesting that we saw that. But anyways, guys, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Love to hear your thoughts. And like I said, for me, by far, best episode of the season. I'm really loving the show so far. Can't wait for the next episode. I'm most likely finishing the season this week. I don't know when, but again, there's only 8 episodes, so I think I can finish it really quickly. But I will see you guys next week, which will be for episode 4 of Stranger Things, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.